FridayNightGlory.com. I'm your host, Malik Wright, taking place with Randy Edwards. With me tonight, I have Lauren Moore, Matthew Davidson, Riley Bevers, Terrence Johnson, and Kenny Matthews. Let's get started. Big week of Texas high school football. Let's start off with our Friday Night Glory offensive MVP. This week we have Dallas Jesuit wide receiver Fletcher Rosenbluth. Fletcher with 9 catches, 235 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a 59-35 win over Lake Highlands. His scores went for 33, 32, and 75 yards. He was very big play, so shouts out to him. Do you guys have anything to say about him?
That's one of my boys. I've liked him since day one. Says the new Wes Welker.
He's a game changer.
Looking good. 1,166 yards for him. Doubled his touchdown total in 1 week. He came in the game with 3. Now he has 6. His team's second in district, tied with Skyline at 4-1. Great performance. I don't think the kid has any offers, but great performance coming down to the end of the season during playoff time. And now let's move to the defensive MVP. We have Bishop Lynch's Gabriel Murphy, junior linebacker defensive end. Gabriel came through with 10 tackles, 3 for a loss, 2 pass breakups, and 2 quarterback hurries in a 7-0 win over Argyle Liberty Christian. With all that being said, 7-0 with the win, a whole lot of big stops for the kid. His team's in first place in district, 8-0, and their defense hasn't given up more than 10 points all season. You guys have anything to say about him?
I guess they needed all of his tackles, didn't they?
All of them, and every tackle was needed.
Hey, that's a baller right there.
Yes, sir. Great game. And then, again,
serious stat foot right there.
Yeah, and for their defense, again, not having given up more than 13 points for the entire season is great for them. So once again, our MVPs are Dallas Jesuits Fletcher Rosenbluth and Bishop Lynch's Gabriel Murphy. Congratulations to you two. I don't have the helmets with me right now, but we will get them to you guys this week. Now let's talk some football real quick. Big week. Game of the year, so-called 6A game of the year last week with DeSoto losing to the Duncanville Panthers in what some saw as a shocker, 24-14. I have Matthew Davidson and Riley Bevers with me. You guys talk about that game for me.
Yeah, so basically I picked Duncanville by 3, and Duncanville was up by 3 most of the game until the last 3 minutes where they got the ball back and they scored back-to-back. So it really put the game away. And, I like being right. I like being able to pick a game and look good, so it makes me feel good. I don't have to eat my sock because Trinity I'm stuttering. Trinity also beat Hebron, who everybody said was so powerful. I mean, we saw how powerful they were, and now we see how powerful Trinity's defense really is. I know there's controversial calls going on in that game. I heard about that, and I know that really swayed the game in a way that they ended it, and I heard there was a brawl at the end of it. But back to the DeSoto and Duncanville game, I mean, Duncanville just really pounded them the whole game. Constant pressure. DeSoto's offense couldn't get no rhythm at all. And Duncanville's defense is something for people to watch because they might be the type of defense that can go win you a state title. And also, I'll touch on real quick something that happened today that's very important in the district.
Of course, let them know. I'll break it. Earlier today, around 3-4 o'clock, it was reported that the Cedar Hill Panthers played an ineligible player against North Grand Prairie High School, thus causing them to forfeit the game. They are out of the playoff spot as of right now with a big game coming up this week against GP or against
South Grand Prairie.
Against South Grand Prairie, a game out. But yeah, talk about that.
Yeah, so basically the way it worked is they had an ineligible player that didn't have the grades up to par that played. We don't know the player, but the head coach called UIL and they told him about it, and then UIL made their decision to make them forfeit by 1 point. And so GP will get that 1 point, and if GP beats Irving on Friday, they will clinch a playoff berth for the first time in 28 years. And that's pretty crazy in itself. And then Cedar Hill could be on the outside looking in. If they lose to South on Friday, they're out of the playoffs, period.
That's crazy. And in my years of being in Texas, I don't think I've ever heard of Cedar Hill not making the playoffs. And
yeah,
for sure it's never happened in the Grand Prairie area to where both schools have made the playoffs, in football at least.
Exactly. Yeah.
Playoffs. It's been 30 years.
Yeah. So it will be the first time in the history of Grand Prairie as a city for both schools to both go to the playoffs.
Hey, Friday Night Glory broke that story. Credit Matthew Davidson. Now tell him. Put it out there.
Technically, I know everybody on Twitter saw certain people from Dallas Morning News
sir.
and stuff tweeting it, but I just like to say my father called me about it and told me about it way before anybody else knew, and because my father knows the head coach at Grand Prairie. But we were waiting on it to all be solid, and I'm not going to get on Twitter and spit my mouth off when I don't have all the facts like certain people, but I'm not going to say any names. But
exclusive.
Basically, I knew about it first. I just don't feel like throwing my credibility around whenever I don't know everything 100%.
All right, and now Riley, to you, talk about the let's move back to the Duncanville DeSoto game, and then could you also preview the South Grand Prairie Cedar Hill game, which is now up for a playoff spot?
Yeah, you mentioned that some thought it was a surprise that Duncanville won the game, but I really didn't. I've been saying since the beginning of the year that Duncanville was going to go 10-0, and I was confident in that. They have a leading rusher in Keelan Oder, a state caliber defense, and a playmaker at quarterback. It's going to get you far in the playoffs. They're a team that will make a run at state, and I think they'll be able to get there this year. I think they got over that hump that they needed to beat out, that they could have beat Allen last year, and I think they're a much better improved team from last year. We saw that on Friday night when they beat DeSoto, and it was a close game, but I felt watching the game that I always thought that Duncanville was going to win that game. They just really controlled it, and looking into the South game that coming this Friday, we got South Grand Prairie and Cedar Hill, and a much bigger game than it was to begin with. I think South Grand Prairie will win that game. I saw a lot from them this week. They really proved themselves on the offensive side of the ball. They've been good defensively all year, and the only thing that they've been missing is that offense. They've lost a couple close games. They lost to Duncanville by 2 touchdowns. I feel like if they would have been better offensively, they could have been in that game and possibly competed with Duncanville.
With that, sorry to know, but with that being said, you're saying that Cedar Hill, with their backs against the wall, made playoffs. I'm going to assume that they've made playoffs for 10 plus straight years. Backs against the wall, both of you.
At least.
Would both of you say you think that SGP pulls it off?
I think South wins. I think South wins on Friday because South's defense has proven to me from what I've seen. Hey, that defense right there, that's all I got to say. South Grand Prairie's got some defense.
Okay, there's a lot of pride going on in that game for the guys at Cedar Hill, so I see it as a tough. But let's get to you guys' pick 6 real quick. Or let both of you go at the same time. We're going to go first with Marcus at Byron Nelson.
You can go ahead, Riley. Get that one. I'll go after you.
It's hard for me to pick against Marcus. Even though they've had a rough couple of games. I feel like they'll come out and play a good game and win this game.
I think Marcus is going to win it, even though they lost the game last week that I thought and many other people thought they should have won. I'm still going to go with Marcus. I believe in them. I'm still going to go with Marcus. I think they're going to beat Byron Nelson. I saw a team in Southlake that just really ran all the way over Byron Nelson, and that leads me to believe that Marcus could do the same.
Okay. And then we're going to go with Reedy High School versus Lone Star.
I'll go ahead and I'll do this one. I got Lone Star. I mean, you got Kirby Bennett at running back. I'll say it 3 more times if I have to, but Kirby Bennett's playing running back for Lone Star. And as long as he's playing running back, they're going to go pretty far. I got Lone Star going to state this year. That's just me.
Okay. Same for you, Riley.
I'm going to pick against Mount on that one. I got Reedy going 9-0 and winning this district.
The streak on the line. All right. Let's do next game. We're going to go with Frisco Heritage versus Wakeland.
All right. I don't really know too much about either team, so I'm going to go with Frisco Heritage because I've seen them on TV before. They always look like they have some pretty good athletes, so I'll just go with them by default.
Yeah, same thing here. I don't really know too much about this team, either team, but I'm going to go with Heritage. I've seen them play some pretty good games in the past.
Okay, and then you two want to reiterate make it clear your Cedar Hill versus SGP pick?
I got South Grand Prairie winning by 10 points.
Okay.
Yeah, I got South Grand Prairie winning by a touchdown. You know, like I said, Cedar House, their backs against the walls. I think it's too much to overcome. You know, it's really deflating. You know, you think you clinch a playoff spot, and then you come back a week later and you get a win taken away from you, and then you have to come back the next week and win a game to get into the playoffs. You know,
Yeah.
so I have South Grand Prairie winning this game.
Yeah, that's in the week. And then our final game is Coppell versus Dallas Skyline. The Raiders.
Let's go Raiders.
I got Coppell.
Shame on you.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry, Terrence. I'm gonna have to go with Coppell too. You know,
I understand.
Skyline didn't impress me when I went and watched them, but you know, I don't think they'll have enough on Friday night.
Okay. Well, and then of course we will be seeing you two at Cedar Hill versus South Grand Prairie this Friday.
Don't forget Arlington and Martin.
Ooh.
Yeah, we gotta do Arlington, Martin.
Yeah, that sounded bad coming out of my mouth. I didn't even want to say it.
Go ahead.
Arlington High versus Martin.
I got man, this is really tough because both teams are really good. Both teams have only lost one game, and that's to Mansfield, both of them. But I'm gonna go with Martin. I think Martin's a very well-rounded team. I feel like they're very disciplined, and I haven't seen Arlington this year. I'm just going off what I've seen. I've seen Martin. They look like they have a bunch of dogs on their team. So
yeah, it is one of the best Martin teams.
Juju Octaviano.
yeah, Juma can go.
Juma.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Martin too. You know, I've seen them play, and I've seen their scores this year, and you know their only loss is to Mansfield, and I think they'll keep it rolling, and come back from that loss, and you know they're gonna get the job done and beat Arlington this week.
Okay, and then before I let you guys go, Lauren has a quick question for both of you.
Yes, who is your biggest surprise breakout player of the season?
Right now, I'd probably have to go with J.J. Jackson. He plays wide receiver, running back, and quarterback for Duncanville. He's not the starting quarterback, but he's a sophomore. He goes in at the end of the game when Duncanville's winning, and he'll play quarterback, and what he does is pretty special, but he also plays really good at wide receiver. He had almost over 100 yards receiving against DeSoto. He scored a touchdown, but he can run the ball too, and he's really just a pure athlete. He's like 6'2", like 200 pounds, sophomore, and he's he really makes people miss in open space.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for my breakout player, I'm gonna go with Keelan Elder from Duncanville, the starting running back. You know, to me, he just like you see him play, and he just seem like one of those guys that'll come across to you as a guy that'll stand out in the high school team. You know, he's more of a pro style running back, and he came out and he's led the district in rushing yards this year, and he's gonna be a part of leading Duncanville to state this year.
Yeah, big role for them. Well, like I said, we will see you two. You guys at another big game out in your area. It seems like you guys get them every week, since October began. But we're gonna move on to Lauren Moore, who was at Flower Mound versus Marcus this year. Flower Mound took the 17-10 win. Lauren, talk about that.
Well, we won the Axe, lost the Mound. Flower Mound was very, very excited about winning that Mound, though. They haven't won in about 4 years. They burned shirts. They disrespected the Marcus Band, which does not happen because Marcus Band's the best band in the land. There's a lot of fighting all throughout the games. Marcus's offense couldn't catch momentum, and defense could not stop Flower Mound. Flower Mound's offense just wanted it more. On defense, Marcus was able to force an interception, and they also blocked a field goal. The offensive line fell. Justin Dinka, the star he is, on 21 carries, only had 36 yards. And Xavier Maxwell was able to have 142 yards passing, which is pretty good, but with a 10 score, wow, Flower Mound's defense.
Not a lot of offense, great defense for Flower Mound. But yeah, just tell us about, were you there after the game on the field with the storm the field and
I'm on drill team, so I'm already on the field. So whenever Flower Mound students were jumping over the stands, trying to get onto the field, all run into their football team. Right after our games, our football team goes and stands behind their opposing team's band, behind the players. So the band their school who won players, and then our players. Well, the Flower Mound players never ran over to their band, and just our players sadly got to mope over to us for a sad school song, which Flower Mound decided to play over. Yep.
Yeah,
Rivals.
that's tough.
So much fun.
That's tough.
Gotta have it.
But with that being said, and even after that loss being taken, you guys are Flower Mound is in a three-way tie for fourth place, which is a playoff spot nonetheless, with Byron Nelson and Marcus. With 2 games left, you're gonna be at Byron Nelson versus Marcus this week. Any expectations?
I really expect Marcus football to just look back at Flower Mound and go, wow, we were a better team. Watch some film over it go from any other game compared to the one against Flower Mound, and just it's uncomparable. The team that almost beat and put up good competition against Southlake to go and kind of flop against Flower Mound, decide they don't want to show up till the second half.
Yeah, and they're with the game back. They need some help, but let's start off. Who is your breakout performer for the year?
It's actually a Marcus player, Kevin Netters. Not really on the radar recruiting wise, doesn't really get much recognition, but he leads the powerful Marcus defense, making sure everyone's in the right plays, always being the one to go and double check that whoever has the ball, he's being taken down. Kevin will be all the way across field and is all the way across and down 10 yards and down 30 yards to go clean up a tackle made by a teammate.
Okay. And now let's start with your pick 6. Your game you'll be at Byron Nelson versus Flower Mound.
Yes. Well, my Marcus boys, they won the playoffs. They're gonna get the playoffs. I expect them to get that win.
It's a must-win for them. Reedy High School versus Lone Star.
I'm gonna say Lone Star, like Matt said. Kirby Bennett I really don't know if Reedy has the potential to stop him.
Okay, and then we're gonna go with Frisco Heritage versus Wakeland.
I'm gonna say Heritage. They're rushing. They do a really good job rushing the ball.
Okay, and then Cedar Hill versus South Grand Prairie.
I'm gonna say Cedar Hill. They're gonna overcome all this drama and look at it and go, "We're Cedar Hill. We're gonna take this win."
Gotta play for the name on the chest. Capel versus Skyline.
I'm gonna say Capel. They have a really good quarterback, good defense. I don't think Capel can really not win. Sorry.
You owe me. We both have teams in the mud here.
Oh yeah.
Cakewalk. That's a cakewalk on Skyline Senior Night. Aren't we at Senior Night week yet? Almost.
Yeah.
My Raiders will not be denied.
And it's almost that time. And then Martin High School versus Arlington High School.
I'm gonna say Arlington. Our game against them was a loss for Marcus, but wow, Arlington's got themselves a good team.
Yeah, they've developed nicely throughout the years. I've got a chance to see that in person, but you have a great Friday. We'll see you at Byron Nelson versus Flower Mound. And now we're going to move along to Mr. Terrence Johnson. What's up, Terrence?
What's going on, man? I see you running the show. You're doing a good job here.
Excellent job.
Keeping the train moving with the team. You were at Lake Ridge versus Legacy over the weekend. Lake Ridge came out, won that game 28-17. Speak on that, what you see.
Man, that was a great game. A lot of turnovers, 9 total turnovers in that game. But Lake Ridge pulled it off in the end. They both came in 4-0 in district. When I say Lake Ridge had 2 great plays, was the turning point for me in that game. On 4th and 1, 4th and 5, they got the stops there, of course. They got 2 interceptions off of Legacy and 2 turnovers. Legacy also had a pair of turnovers themselves. 3 fumbles they collected from Lake Ridge, 2 interceptions as well. But Lake Ridge was kind of stingy with the defense, man. You know, they have been holding their opponents to 14 points in the second half to get to this 5-0 level. They got these 2 tandems of, I think the guy last name is Houston. They call themselves the Rockout Boys. I interviewed them at the end of the game. It was kind of hilarious and funny at the same time. But they played stout D at the end. 28-17 win was the final. I mean, it was very live out there. So they improved to 5-0 in district. So they're looking to, take that district because they have Timberview next week, and Timberview is just about 2-3 in district. So I don't see Timberview running over them, and they should finish in that District 10 5A.
Oh yeah, and like I said, like I've been saying, the Mansfield area is one of the best areas in the state. But this week looks like we'll find you at LD Bell versus South Lake Carroll. You got a preview on that? Who you think's gonna win?
Well, when I was growing up, we used to fear that name, LD Bell. That's how they say it on the commentary. But say they were some bad boys back then. But lately, over the years, they haven't really been the same program. I mean, I know about my South Lake Dragons, rich history there, the only team in the Texas high school football history to hold 8 state titles. I mean, South Lake's on a roll. I mean, they've been kind of shaky here and there, but I mean, last week I would say a little bit of a cakewalk. It was 30-0 at halftime. I think Kenny was at that game.
Yeah,
I get to work this game with Kenny this week.
With Kenny actually, and it was a clinic in that first half. It was.
It was.
Yeah, and I look forward to working with my Boomer brother right there this week. Never worked with him all
That's
season.
right.
Me and him will be on that game. We're gonna be looking for TJ McDaniel. I mean, this is week 9. Well, South Lake's 4-1 district.
Oh yeah, TJ especially. He can do it all.
Yeah, TJ is a bad man. He's a bad man.
Bad man.
Hard not to be a fan of his.
Yeah.
My only thing is waiting for this South Lake Hebron game on November the 10th. I think that's going to be the thing right there. Hebron's been playing pretty good.
For the district chip. But let's start off with your pick 6. We're going to go first with Marcus and the team that South Lake beat last week, Byron Nelson, looking to bounce back. Must-win game for Byron Nelson as well, elimination game.
I mean, this will be a pretty hard one. I mean, Marcus is great, but if Dinka can't get going, I may see a little upset by the Bobcats, even though they don't have a lot of firepower, because I covered them 2-3 years ago. They're not the same Bobcats, but Justin Dinka will have to get going, in order for them to kind of win this game. I mean, they both have nothing to lose, so I'm going to go with the Marcus Marauders this time just because I want to see Justin Dinka win, and shout out to Lauren over there so they can get that victory.
Yeah, must say, and like I said, Byron Nelson's got to find somebody to get in the end zone. Reedy High School, hope I'm saying it right, Reedy High School versus Lone Star.
Well, Lone Star, like y'all said, Mr. Puckett is back in town. He couldn't get back in Allen, so, I mean, he's over there at Frisco balling. I'm going to look for Lone Star to go ahead and take it off the wheels of Mr. Puckett there.
Okay. We're going to go with Frisco Heritage versus Wakeland.
Frisco and Wakeland. Don't know a lot about them, but them heritage schools seem to pull out a lot of wins. You have a lot of Colleyville Heritage and you have Fort Worth Heritage. So if I'm just going to throw a blind guess, I'm going to say Heritage.
Okay, like most of us. And then we got controversy surrounding this game. Cedar Hill losing the player this week. South won a controversial game against North, who got in the playoff now because of Cedar Hill's ineligible player who got in that game.
That's very uncharacteristic for a Cedar Hill program to have an ineligible player there. I mean, they should get this win to show that what they could have or what would have been, even though South Grand Prairie may end up just being in the playoffs because of that. But I'm going to have to roll with Cedar Hill. They bounce back, and maybe Carlos Lynn get better next year and just, kind of see what's going on with the troops. I don't know how that slips through the door, especially in the Cedar Hill Independent School District, area. I don't know how that kind of got through there.
Out there. They don't even got class, I thought. But,
right.
Your
That's wrong.
I love the education system out there. Your Skyline Raiders senior night going up against Coppell.
It's going to be a tough one for the Raiders. I mean, they have one good weapon, but they have some weapons unknown that can get loose too. But I've never seen Coppell, but I know they hot flying and been winning, and they're probably going to win that district. I mean, I hate to pick against my alma mater. It'd have to be a lot of things happening there. But with the holes in the defensive Skyline, I would say the Coppell Cowboys probably give my Raiders an upset on senior night. But I still love you, Skyline boys. We're here. But, in order for that to take off, the team will have to help Velton Gardner because he can get loose and do 300 easy on the ground. Now, if they get into a spat with them boys, it may be a nice tight game, but I say the Coppell Cowboys may pull it off and go and take that district.
You slow it down, and then we've got perennial powerhouse This school is looking for a state championship. Martin High School versus Arlington High.
I'm about to go with Martin because I've seen Octaviano. He's a beast in that backfield. He used to be a quarterback. They turned him into a slash Cardell Stewart running back, quarterback. It's a pretty good beast. They well disciplined. I think Martin will get that win against Arlington High.
All right. And then, of course, like you said, we're going to see you along with the next analyst for the show, Kenny Matthews, at LD Bell versus South Lake Carroll this weekend. And
It'll be
now,
fun.
what's
Two
up?
boomers in the house.
Let me introduce you
Boomers
guys.
in the house.
Mr. Boomer Sooner himself, Kenny Matthews. He's got a few brooms on him already. He's got 2 straight sweeps on his pick 6.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have a broom this week, though.
Got 2 on his record. Me and Kenny were at the South Lake Carroll versus Byron Nelson game. South Lake ended up winning this game 50-17. Kenny, give them your take on it.
Well, I mean, that was a pretty efficient game for South Lake Carroll. I mean, they came down, scored on the first, played 4 out of their first 5 drives. They scored TDs. There's a new guy on offense, I think, that we need to start paying attention a little bit. They kind of did the same thing with Mr. Barnes last year as R.J. Mickens, the All-American cornerback, man. He had 2 touchdowns through the air. I think that's the key to South Lake Carroll. If Will Blowers can average just 225 yards a game passing, there will be a hard out in the playoffs. It's too many times he's under 200, become one-dimensional. I think as you move on to playoffs, you can't be one-dimensional unless you're somebody like Trinity that you can just overpower people. And that's not South Lake Carroll's game.
Yeah, and Mickens to begin the game, he had 2 touchdowns in the first quarter.
Yep.
Stole a ball out of the Byron Nelson's. I'm not gonna say the Nelson's kid's name for his parents might be watching. Man,
We love you, Bobcats.
Well, and even the Bobcats, when they do something well, they get the interception, they fumble in the end zone, and they give up a safety.
they and I'm gonna speak on that right now. Man, they had their chances. They were down 28-0. Quarter's about to end, and they catch an interception. And controversially, as we saw on replay, the player never left the end zone, but he ended up fumbling the football, put the ball on the ground, which you can't do. These refs do not have instant replay. Coming in the next quarter, the Skyline they punt the safety punt. South Lake runs out the clock. Next quarter, second play of the quarter. Yep. First pass of the quarter, Byron Nelson catches the interception, and another fumble comes. Lose that ball. TJ McDaniel scores on the next play. So Nelson really shot themselves in the foot. But you were also at Trinity versus Hebron. Trinity pulled that one off 31-28.
Boy, was this a lot of fun Friday night. It's a tale of a game where, there was only 5. One umpire and 4 referees showed up to the game. So you're already down 2 referees going into this game. So there was numerous conferences after calls throughout that game. So you get that eerie feeling amongst both sides. The umpires had lost control of the game, which inevitably they did at the end. But again, it's one of those where Hebron had 2 turnovers. Trinity only had 1. Hebron couldn't stop the running game for Trinity. Trinity always had that advantage going throughout the game. They shut down Trajan Bridges, my Oklahoma oral commit, my little boy, my friend, my nephew's best friend. They shut him down. Just broke my heart. But it was, again, the 2 turnovers that Hebron had. They had one after the Trinity had a turnover at the end of the second half. The very next play, Toombs throws an interception. Trinity takes the ball, 7 plays, runs right down the throat. Courage Keene, one of our old buddies from Trinity. Huge game, 225 plus yards, 2 TDs. You always had the feeling that Hebron just needed to hold serve, but they couldn't. But at the end, they did get the 3 and out. Hebron drives down the field. Toombs with the keeper gets to probably about the 1-inch line, fumbles. And, I mean, we're right on there. If you looked at it twice, my buddy old Ted Manning for old Channel 8 sportscaster. He had his film. We looked at it several times. It was very hard, but they ruled it a fumble. Hebron, to their credit, they stop them on 3 straight plays, take the drive 45 yards in 38 seconds. It's 31-28. Onside kick time with a minute something left. The onside call goes. The onside kick goes. They originally ruled that Hebron had the ball. The Hebron guy runs off the field, the ball in the air. After a conference, not so much. Trinity ball game. Coach Brazel runs on the field for Hebron like a crazy man.
That's a big man.
All of a sudden, the fisticuffs broke out, boy. And boy, everything. I mean, that whole stadium got real tight then. Because it went on for probably 3-4 minutes. After about 8 to 10 flags that were thrown down, they settled everybody down. We couldn't interview Trinity afterwards due to safety. They wanted to make sure that they got the visiting team out of there. So it was a wild game. I mean, you have to give Trinity credit. What a lot of people on the panel said last week, they were able to rush the football. With it being windy, the way it was early Friday night, the wind is, that was a big factor in shutting down the passing game for Hebron. And Trinity, I mean, I think Trinity attempted less than 5 passes in the game and scored 31 points. You just don't see that anymore unless you're with the Army or Air Force Academy. And it doesn't happen anymore. It was a great game to watch. Controversy, yes. Would have been great to see Hebron have a shot to win. But I said, even if they get the onside kick, they still have to score. And a lot of people over here in the Carrollton area don't realize that. You still have to score. So, yes, Trinity came in with the win.
Yeah, and I forgot you guys, I was off this Friday, but you guys were freezing, shivering out there.
Oh, man, my toes
I
were
couldn't
frozen.
feel my toes all weekend.
I couldn't feel my toes.
Gave y'all
a lot of controversy.
But I'm going to let Lauren ask both you guys her question on the top player.
So, who is y'all's biggest surprise breakout player of the season?
You got it first, Terrence?
Breakout player, I'm going to have to go with our last week's guest, Matt Gaddett. Before then, just didn't really know too much about the kid, but to get up in the record books, you're a GOAT to me. So shout out to Matt Gaddett. Last week, I don't care if you do it again this season. You got the record. They got to chase you now. So that's my breakout player right there.
That's a good call. For me, I was going to go with Cumbie from Plano. But you know what? I think that Kendrick Cobbs is making everybody forget that little running back called Noah Kane that went to IMG Academy out in Denton-Guyer. Sophomore has rushed over 1,700 yards, over 20 TDs. Kind of came out of nowhere where, picked up the slack where a lot of people didn't know who was going to rush the football for Denton-Guyer this year. I think they know who's going to rush the football the next few years, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Let's hope they don't get another IMG one.
I want to throw something in there too about my radar last week.
The IMG Web likes the Metroplex.
let me throw that in there about my radar team, Duncanville, last week. Our radar team, they haven't beaten DeSoto since 2008. So DeSoto have owned them, and to get that win, that's why I say they was a radar team, and I stick by that, Randy.
Big win. And then to say that DeSoto is a premier powerhouse in the state, and I saw a lot of reactions from people that they were shocked. So it's a big win for Duncanville. I hope
since 2008,
they got the day off and just that whole program. I'm watching them from afar, but I like the coaching and I like the whole city in general. I hope they don't have a clunker game this week. Seems as you get off such a high to just come back down and play with that same intensity is tough for them. But hopefully they can run the table. They have a goal set in mind. They already did the hard part. But Kenny, we're gonna go to your pick 6. Marcus versus Byron Nelson.
All right, first, I've been breaking out the brooms lately. So since I went 3-3 last week. That's a stinker, baby. You got to get back on track here.
45 minutes.
No more.
35 minutes. I'm going to about 35 minutes.
So I'm going to go with Lauren's team. I think Deacon can rush for 200 yards this week. You heard it here.
Okay. We're gonna go with Reedy High School versus Lone Star.
One of the best jobs in the Metroplex that's getting unknown is what Reedy has done. They finally have seniors on their team after getting strummed last year with a bunch of juniors on the varsity level. But I gotta go with Lone Star. MJ Rivers, Nick Bolton, and Coach Raven. Gotta beat them first. I think they're playing at the right time. Lost a close game earlier to Denton Ryan, but I think that they're just a notch underneath Denton Ryan. I think they take district with the win this week.
Okay. Cedar Hill versus South Grand Prairie.
Boy, I went back and forth after we got that information this afternoon, but I'm kind of with you a little bit. I think Cedar Hill needs to play for what's on the front of that jersey. Get rid of all the controversy just winning on the field. I hate to say this, but I think the Longhorns win. Well, that's tough to say, isn't it?
Okay, we're going to go with Capel versus Dallas Skyline.
I think one of the most underrated players in the Metroplex is Mr. Brady for Capel. Yeah. I mean, he's got 1,600 yards. I mean, he's got 1,600 yards rushing, I believe. Hold on a second. I got the stats here. He's got 1,600 yards. He's 28 TDs with 2 interceptions, a 70% completion ratio out of that guy. I think that they're an undervalued team going forward. I think they come up with the win. I like though McBride.
I like that. And then we're going to go with Arlington High School versus Arlington Martin. Separated by about 10 minutes up the street. Cowboys.
This is tough for me because I'm really partial to the Colt bunch. I went out there with Roger a few weeks ago and watched that game against North Crowley. Kids are very good, very respectful bunch. But I got to go with Coach Wagger here. I think the Martin bunch will have just enough defense to win that game.
Okay. And then, of course, we will see you and Terrence both at LD Bell versus South Lake Carroll this weekend.
Yeah, we got one more for me. I got to do the Heritage and Wakeland game.
Oh, skipped over that one.
No, that's right.
Skipped over. See, that's the one that Randy warned us about. Y'all better do your research. We're gonna go with Heritage.
This is time. Versus Heritage.
I'm going to go with Coach Secord of Wakeland. Wakeland has been in the playoffs on a nice streak here for a while. They lose this week. They're on the outside probably looking in a very tough district. It's a must-win for Wakeland. I think the Auburn generic uniforms win this week.
Okay. Well, and like I was saying, we'll see you and Terrence at South Lake Carroll, LD Bell.
That's
this
weekend.
Fun.
Wait a minute. Is that a Houston Texans shirt?
Yes, sir.
Oh, man.
The pants, too.
Go Cowboys.
Rep
I'm back on it.
She got a Clemson hat somewhere in there, too, I'm sure.
Oh, no. No.
Well, man down in Dallas. But this week, I will be at Lake Dallas High School versus Lil Elm. There's a 3-way tie for first Little Elms and 3-way tie for first with McKinney North and the Colony. Lil Elms defense, they give up 33 points in a win. Since then, they haven't given up more than 10. So I'm gonna go with Little Elm winning that game over Lake Dallas. Lake Dallas's offense is very quarterback dependent. The quarterback is levels above his talent.
Easily.
That's good line too.
That's gonna get them right there.
Got one of the best names in the Metroplex too.
Yeah, great team at Lake Dallas. I hope Lake Dallas can pull it off. Big home game for them. So I hope they can pull it off. For my pick 6, I'm gonna go with Marcus over Byron Nelson. I'm gonna go with Lone Star over Reedy. Wakeland over Heritage. I think Cedar Hill pulls it out off the strength of their defense and just, like I said, playing for the name on your chest. I can't imagine Cedar Hill not being in the playoffs. So I'll believe it when I see it. Dallas Skyline versus Capel. I think Capel comes in on senior night and stuns Skyline. And then we're going to go Martin versus Arlington High. always tough. Sadly, I need a violin. My Bowie Vols missed the playoffs for the first time in about 11 years almost, man. It was a young team this year, but I'm gonna go with Martin. Hopefully the team Upton Street can give us a state title run. For my most breakout player through the year, I'm gonna go with Argyle quarterback John Copeland, who recently last Friday had he tore his ACL last Friday, so he played in his final game, but throughout the season, 2,000 yards passing. Recent transferred over this season, first year at the job, 24 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Tore ACL at the end of the year. Good kid, great passer. I hope he gets a shot at the next level. I know it's tough with that.
Impressive.
Yeah, impressive numbers for what he had.
Tragic, man. Hate that.
And yeah, but like Argyle, one of the perennial powerhouses, they have the defense to carry the team. So hopefully those guys can do it. But that looks
state bound team.
Behind
the center, that was a state bound team.
And hopefully they can make up with the running game. I know Williams in the backfield. Got to interview him earlier this season too. He's probably my favorite player. One of my favorite players. I was on the sideline. I was like, man, can you score a touchdown or 2 for me so we can get this over with? He said, yeah, man, I'll see what I can do. Squeezes one in the end zone. 2 plays later, gives me a little look. So I'm like, all right, kid.
Tom Williams.
But that's it for the show today. You guys got anything you want to say? Anything you want to add before we head out?
Just a shout out to every receiver that had a good game on Friday in that freezing cold. I bet that was hard to catch some balls.
Oh yeah, it was cold.
I could not imagine.
I feel bad for him. It's the coldest winter in Texas coming.
Just, wow.
9 turnovers in a game. I think it was cold.
Yeah, I just want to tell these kids, and I've been saying it. Put 2 hands around that football. And tuck it in.
Terrence Williams.
I've
None of
seen
this.
30 fumbles this season, and I do not like it. You can win a game if you have no turnovers. You will not lose the game. You have no fumbles, you will not lose a game. Kids, let's put 2 around the ball. No more.
2 around.
Bread loafing around. But,
I got one shout out to Parker Towns again. Boy, I'm his agent
damn.
on this show, aren't I? Big game, 400 yards. Parker Towns, he lost it to his old receiver buddy, Rosenbleet, but Parker Towns, boy, he was great. Parker was great again. I mean, that guy's waited his time, and he's making the most of it this year so far. Look at the stats. He's up there.
Yeah, nice. Emmitt Smith Jr. over there. It's the first part 1 of senior night this week for half the team. So a lot of kids will be playing their final home games and final games, period. So let's hope that they can go out with the bang. A lot of elimination games this week as well. But shout out Taylor producing the show. Randy we missed Randy tonight stepping out. Beverly for Lauren Moore, Terrence Johnson, Kenny Matthews, Riley Beavers, Matthew Davison. I'm Malik Wright. Everybody have a good week. Good week of high school football coming. So you guys tune in next week.
All righty. Good one, guys.
All right. Have a good weekend. Right. Stay warm.
Stay warm. See you Friday.
Yeah. Go Boomer soon. See you, Kenny. Go everybody. Friday night.